We're on. So session 19. Crazy. I think almost 3 months of game time have passed. No, sorry. Yes, that's wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh yeah, yeah. So almost 3 months of game time have passed. It's still late spring. Let me pull up the map here. So we can see where we're at. All right. And when last we left off, you had successfully escaped from the caves adjacent to the River King's caves, apparently,
Yeah.
as far as you can tell, and had made it all the way back to the cart where Tiny, is that the name of the creature? The bird beast of burden?
Itsy.
Itsy, sorry, yeah. Itsy, Bitsy, teeny, tiny, whichever. Itsy was fine and chewing on some grass, and the cart was untouched. So in that, roughly day that you were gone, everything seemed to be okay. And you spent a restful night all together there in the woods. So when you wake up in the morning, the forest is like, there's like a thick mist in the forest because you're still kind of in this river valley. There's like a layer of moisture on everything. All the kind of the sounds of a primeval wood in the morning, strange birds and chittering creatures and all that. As you guys wake up and prepare for the next leg of your journey. So I'm gonna ask, I want to know how Tiny is feeling waking up after having gone through a pretty big, I think quite an ordeal, like at least psychologically, right?
Yeah.
Like I wonder how Tiny's processing all that stuff that happened.
I think that on the exterior, she's playing it very cool. But I mean, let's be honest. She's a hunter. Like, in a 24-hour period, she's seen magic. She's been subjected to magic and creatures, beyond explanation, and dangers and near fatalities and stuff. She's overwhelmed, probably. This is a lot, but on the outside, she's playing it very, very cool.
So it was one thing to see so much more of the wider world on this, the big journey that you've gone on over the past 2 months to visit the Venati people and ride goats and all that. And it was another thing to be underground with strange creatures and especially the weird magical stuff that was happening. Even though you encountered some magic before, this was disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Taimi had a distrust of magic. But having been subjected to that sickness and the magnetic stone, I think she really has a dislike and distrust of magic.
Oh, okay, wow.
And the fear curse that sent her into the pit.
That's right. Yeah, like I was poisoned. My mind was poisoned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure and she acknowledges that like she's seen, some of Paiviki's magic. So I don't think it's like across the board, but she is extremely distrustful.
Yeah, and so far, I believe Paiviki's managed to maintain control of her magic, right? So
not entirely. That first or that second thing that she tried to do, where she was trying to save Taimi, she sent Taimi
right.
backwards.
Yeah, Taimi doesn't know that, right? Taimi just thinks that she was being pwned by that sorcerer,
invisible wizard guy.
I thought Paiviki had apologized for failing in that instance.
I'll direct your attention to Taimi's intelligence score.
Taimi has no idea. It's like apologizing for like getting us.
Yeah, she's probably like, yeah, you're apologizing for not being there. I don't know what she thought, but yeah, probably didn't put 2 and 2 together.
So is Taimi accepting kind of personal comfort? I just mean like company and care from Annika, or is Taimi feeling like need to be alone?
No, because well, again, she's just playing it cool. So whatever their normal pattern is, which I think is a kind of you know, a bit of a tough like standoffishness. Um, you know, she doesn't like accept PDAs, but she, stands next to her and, always asks her first, something or whatever, or always offers her something first. Like the same little gestures in her own way that she shows affection, she continues to do. But
Okay. And doesn't and just by her vibe is Annika's, it's clear from after falling in the pit and these kind of brushes with danger that you guys had, that Annika's kind of concern for you has been made apparent, but normally it's just as you describe. So but you're just like, it's cool, I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, great. How does Paiviki feel this morning?
I think waking up, but also excited that she was able to use magic at least somewhat successfully, but she's been humbled by realizing that if she lets it loose without kind of holding back some of her power in a literal game kind of way, she has a good chance of screwing up and having a terrible results. So she's kind of wary of magic that way, and I think that she's happy to be out of the cave, and both times that they've gone adventuring in some dark place, they've met up with things that are quite horrific, and it's a little bit jarring to her sense of her idealist sense of the adventuring life. Some scary stuff down there.
Scarier than, adventures maybe a little more than it's cracked up to be with all that strange, scary stuff. Great. Muirin, how's Muirin feeling this morning? I think you came out of this whole thing relatively unscathed, right?
Right. I think she's confident, but very regretful of letting down Topias when it came to that big fight they had together, and sort of wishing she could have done a better job to like protect him. So she's sort of like reflecting on that, but just glad that he is everyone's basically healthy. So
would you like bring him, like a cup of tea or something in the morning at breakfast? Or are you kind of, is it like, is Muirin sort of so uncomfortable about it that maybe she doesn't even go near him? Or would she be like kind of tending to him a little bit?
She's definitely being nicer to him for sure. Like, okay. So yeah, tea sounds likely.
Or whatever hot beverage you guys have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some herbal.
A little, accent. Yeah, extra.
A little LaCroix seltzer.
Whatever you want to P.S.
So he's like sitting in the cart in the morning, drinking his hot drink, sipping it, the sounds of the forest. And I think Annika has probably had to redress the bandages that are around his upper right chest area. So, sort of the last thing that happens before you guys are ready to move on is him kind of pulling his shirt back on and wincing. Luckily his legs are, poor guy. I mean, he has a little bit of a limp from that leg injury that he got the first time he fell off that cliff.
Oh God!
But at least his, at least he's pretty mobile, and he can't really carry as much weight as with as the rescue just because of his injury, but he can carry some weight. And luckily the cart, you got the cart to haul stuff. And the cart is laden. The cart is 32 out of 32, right?
Yep.
It is packed.
Yep.
Stuff. Big bundles of furs, bags of adventuring gear, all that stuff. Okay, great. So here we are in the morning, in the late spring, in the dark and misty forest, considering the next leg here.
Well, before we leave, Weirin, do you want to go with me to check out that sinkhole creature? We were in such a, we had such mission focus yesterday morning that we didn't stop to see if anything part of it could be usable for any of your tinctures or poisons. And I'm looking for some sort of trophy, something to shine like even a little bit of light on yesterday.
Do you mean definitely? Do you mean the one that was from the day before we entered the cave?
I think it was technically
Is that
the
what it
morning.
is?
I think it was technically yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that same day it was. Okay.
Yeah.
I do need ingredients.
Gosh, this would be a whole new concoction, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking we should have grabbed some of that to see if that spider had any poison in the cave.
Yeah.
Did you guys kill it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dead.
Oh man.
We did kill it.
Yeah, we gotta loot everything we can.
Like all of the venom. Okay.
Okay, so Weirin, is that are you interested in doing that with Taimi? Getting over there?
Mm-hmm.
Investigating?
Yeah,
that?
thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, so not too hard for you to find it again. And sorry, I'm just looking for my my notes about that creature. So, it's a paper. Well, let me think. I'm gonna have to go into my my document to get at it here. All right. Pardon me. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. And the goal, John, could you just sort of summarize your goal in approaching this, in investigating this creature?
Do you want the proclaimed goal is to just like, get back to something that Taimi knows gives her confidence and security, like the hunter side of her. Like obviously the explorer side was wrought with danger and violence yesterday, and so let's go back to this creature that she killed or helped kill, and let's see if there's a trophy. There's something like a claw or a tooth or something that she can grab, and then for the sake of like making every kill useful. Oh, the meeting has now been upgraded by the host.
Did I accidentally upgrade the meeting? I had no idea.
It's
Yeah,
unlimited
you
minutes.
upgraded it.
Unlimited.
Did that cost
24-hour
money?
I just sucked money out of my PayPal account without. I mean, okay. All right. So
That sucks.
yeah, and then hopefully Weirin can find something useful in its blood, its glands, its scales, something.
okay. All right. So you find the pit, no problem, and find the creature. God, my rules are just printed out in like 6 different packets. It'll be really nice when they're all in one big book. Okay. I got the critter here. Okay, so you go back, you find the pit, which is like it's probably about a 6 foot deep conical, inverted cone of loose dirt and roots, all kind of that drained down to this mouth of this thing. And since you were there, the dirt's kind of like, it kind of drained down and filled up a little bit and covered over. But there's still like one part of it has like these kind of 4 pinchers that were the extent of its mouth, and there's still kind of like one of them poking up a little bit above the dirt. So you can climb down into that pit and kind of like dig it up. And we can figure out, go ahead.
Yeah, I do that.
And let's figure out what kind of booty this thing might have. So we are looking at what we got here? Neutral, large. Wow. Ooh. So it's claws. So you're pulling it out, and it's claws, which you can picture just being like a kind of like like a lobster's claw kind of texture, except that it's kind of translucent, like the like light kind of is visible through it. So it's like this gray and black mottled kind of chitinous stuff. And you guys get down in there. I think as you sort of start to dig out around it, you break the earth into the kind of hollow space that it has carved out for itself under there, and then more of the dirt kind of pours and drains into that, and then gradually reveals the body of the creature, which is a strange. It's probably about 8 feet long, segmented insectoid body with like 6 kind of limbs, again, sort of like the legs on a lobster, like those kinds of like segmented kind of hairy limbs hanging down. And I think this thing died from a combination of crossbow bolts and Paviki's spear.
Spear,
right? Yeah, so it's well punctured, let's say. And the booty die for this creature is a D8. So, Taimi, would you please roll a D8 to see what might be useful here? What's
a booty die?
Booty die. Every creature or person has a booty die. D4 through D12. Just as an example, a penniless person has no booty die. A poor person has a D4. A fabulously wealthy person has a D12. And then there's a series of tables that you roll on, and creatures can have sort of natural resources that you can, harvest from them.
Wow.
Essentially, a large creature's base booty die is a D8. So the first thing you do is you roll a D8, and this roll tells you how many times to roll on the booty table.
Oh wow. Okay. I rolled 6 times.
Okay, so you're gonna roll 6 times.
Or I rolled a 6.
Muirin, you roll a D8 3 times, and we'll have Taimi roll a D8 3 times. And then you guys can just report in your numbers.
Okay.
So, Taimi, what you got?
I got a 4, a 5, and a 7.
Okay. Muirin?
2, 1, 2.
Okay, so the 2s, 1s, and the 2s is nothing. So there's those results are nothing. So the 4, 5, and the 7, we got a potentially useful body part, and this thing is edible.
Nice. Perfect.
Maybe it tastes like lobster.
Delicious.
So Taimi's hunter skills come into play here. You can take it apart, and if you remove all the nasty bits, and it's within 24 hours. So you're thinking that you probably want to smoke it or heavily salt it or do something to it or boil it, do something to it to be a little safer. But if you want to take the chance, you're able to pull about, let's see, hit points divided by.
We are getting low on. I'm getting low on rations.
There's a lot of meat in this thing. You could pull about 16 uses of rations out of it. Which would turn into that. That would basically be two 1 weight rations that would be worth 16 uses.
Wow. Yeah, I would like to do that.
Okay, so that'll be 2 weight for you to haul. And the body part, Weirin, why don't you roll for this? Roll a d12.
Sure. 2.
Okay. And then we roll a d12 again.
2.
2. Okay.
Yep.
And yeah, so Tiny, there's some sections of this carapace that are probably the thickest part of this thing. I mean, I think Paibiki stabbed it right in the mouth, so managed to avoid its armor. But this thing has it's pretty thick stuff. And there's a couple of sections of it that you think with time could be fashioned into some decent armor. But it would take, I think it would be probably, you'd have to haul 3 weight worth of stuff to some place where you could, take a day or two, take some downtime to turn it into some armor. But you don't have.
I'm at capacity right now for weight. And anyway, like, do I think that it would be better armor than chainmail? Because if I just repair my chainmail, I'll be back up to.
No, the difference you think that in your evaluation it'd probably be comparable in terms of its protection. It just has a different. It's got it's like a smooth surface.
Yeah.
So there may be, specific fictional cases where that might be more relevant than the texture that a chainmail has. But in terms of just raw protection, it wouldn't be any better than your chainmail.
I mean, I file that away. I file that away, and I think I take a moment of like personal pride in like, yeah, I bet you nobody in Rayun has seen one of these before, but I know that you can eat it. I know how you can kill it, and I know that you can make armor out of it. And that's a very satisfying moment for her. That takes her out of the current kind of glumness.
Yeah, joy in work. You could probably even name it, right?
I was thinking of that. I was thinking of a name. What's our root language again? I'll think of something.
Finnish.
Finnish. All right. Okay.
Yeah, not pressing, but you do have that option since as far as you know, nobody else in your neck of the woods knows about this kind of creature.
That's good eating.
That's awesome.
Yeah, some juicy stuff.
Yeah, so we'll be eating out of my ration pile for a little bit.
Pile.
It's got this bag full of lobster I keep handing out.
Lobster.
Boiled lobster.
It's going to taste more like crayfish. It's going to be a pretty gritty. It hasn't been fattened up on whatever lobster you really like waste at the bottom, I guess. Yeah, it's going to taste a little different, but it has that similar texture. Okay, so was there anything else you wanted to do out there?
So does that mean with the body part there's no like
ingredient you could use?
Right.
That's right. Yeah. The only you never heard about this creature either, and according to the random booty rolls, there was one kind of body part that was useful in it, and what you rolled was that it was useful for protection or defense.
Yep.
That's cool. That's a very cool table. I'm going to start making use of that can we do that with anything that we kill, like bats?
Yeah, totally.
Spiders?
Yep.
Those goblin-y guys?
So sometimes it's preset, but yes, those goblin-y guys, for instance, just as an example, the loot that you got from the cave was all stuff that I rolled up on Booty Table ahead of time. But if you ever encounter something, and there's several different columns. There's inherent, which is when a creature has stuff like you guys just found, it's inherent to their body. There's carried, which is whatever somebody might have on them. There's stashed, and there's in their lair. So depending on where you find them, yeah. If I don't have it pre-generated, then you get to roll dice to figure out what they have.
Sorry for interrupting, Donna.
Oh no, it's cool. For the armor, does that so that would be enough to build one, like, for protection for one person?
Yeah. It weighs, so in the end, right now the raw materials weigh 3.
Right.
And once you turn it, by Timey's evaluation, once you turned it into a workable suit of armor, which would be, it wouldn't, I mean, yeah, it would cover, you'd have like, whatever the word is for leg protection, you'd have vambraces, the whole deal. That would probably be 2 weight total after it was all kind of crafted.
Would it take like 2 weeks of like downtime to make, or?
Depending on who was doing it, like if it was somebody who was a skilled armorer, it would take much less than that. For you, that would all depend on the rolls that you make for the craft move.
What color is it?
Probably no more than 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, so if you have the weight capacity, you're welcome to haul that.
I'm looking. Yeah, so my capacity was it's strength, right? +6.
For the thief, it is your strength modifier +6. That's right. And you can carry more than your capacity. You're just kind of burdened.
Right. I cannot.
Okay, so you're going to leave that behind.
Has anybody taken the pincers as a trophy?
Yeah, I would take 1, I think. Yeah.
For yourself? Or are you going to not going to bring one back for Paiviki?
You know what? Yeah, I bring them all 4 back because I want to give 1 to Topias.
Okay, good. Trying to put on his mantle.
Yeah.
He's going to remember his adventuring days.
Hey, he's still got some good days in him.
Yes, he retired.
I'm trying to look at. So, what would you say? We haven't thought about the weight that Topias and Annika can handle.
Yeah, so I think that they would have a basic. I think it would be the equivalent of the thief. So it would basically be, neither one of them has. Actually, I think they could each handle loyalty, quality +1, quality. I think Topias could handle, well, now that he's hurt, half. He can handle like 4.
Okay.
And Annika could handle 6.
Okay, then they're both laden.
Thank you for tracking all that, John.
I love a spreadsheet.
Everybody's loaded up. Everybody's got like the.
Yeah,
stuff.
we really are.
Could I'm wondering if Paiviki has time while they're off to search for like a piece of wood that could be fashioned into a new pole for her spear.
Sure, absolutely. Yep. I mean, there's certainly no shortage of wood in this area, so I think there's no problem finding it. You don't have to roll for that. And you could probably let's see, they're going to be gone. They're going to be gone probably a couple hours. So finding the piece of wood, I think you could roll to get something usable fashioned before you guys hit the road. If you want to do that.
Sure.
So you got your knife out. You got a hatchet too, right? So you can.
I've got a hatchet and I've got a handsaw.
Oh yeah. So you're totally equipped there. So it's just a question of how long it's going to take.
Okay.
And so for that, look at the work on it. Let's see. Yeah, let's just use the work on a project move, but instead of spending a week, you're just spending an hour or two. And how much is a spear worth? Spear is worth 16 silver pieces. So 2 progress. Yeah, so I think actually if you roll anything other than a 6 or less, you'll finish it in time.
Oh.
However, if you do roll a 6 or less, something might happen.
All right.
And this is the move that, like time's passing, so stuff might happen. So, and I think, what would you say would be a good ability to use for that task?
I don't know. I think maybe right now it would be strength. Just like cutting the wood and like hacking out, like she wants to get like a nice hard piece of wood, so she's like just working at it with her hatchet, trying to like whittle it down to the right size for the
spearhead. Great. And like hardening it in the fire a little bit.
Sure. I don't really know how to make a spear yet.
I think that's done, I think, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, awesome. And why don't you roll strength?
Okay. Oh.
What'd you get?
I got 2. Coming back from that roll.
There's no coming back from the snake eyes.
Yeah. Wow. Here I thought I was just working on a project.
Wait, that's not a stick, it's a snake.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're working on that, and
Sticks.
sorry, what were you gonna say? What'd you say?
That I opened the portal to the world of sticks by accident.
Just whittling on a spear. Yeah, so oh, interesting. Yeah, so roll a d6.
3.
Okay. Oh boy. So you're whittling away. Let's see. Annika is like, Annika's actually filling everybody's water skins. There's like a little rill that Annika found that goes down to the river, and she's filling up the water there. And then she says, you hear, and Topias is sitting in the cart. And you hear Annika say, hey! And you look over. So you're at this point. You've basically you've gotten the pole, all the spear haft, all carved into shape, and you're at the point where you're actually kind of you're shaping the end of it so that it holds that spearhead just right. So you look up from your work, and Topias kind of looks over from the cart, and you hear like this little like kind of a rushing sound through the grass, and you see the grass kind of like moving with motion over in the direction where Annika is. And she comes running, and she doesn't know what else to say other than hey, and a lot of the grass is moving, and then this kind of wave of little they're like basically the size of rats, and it's like a carpet of these kind of brown. So they're the size of rats, but they have more like kind of mouse type tails, right? They don't have that long fleshy tail that a rat has. They have a little like mousy tail. So they're more like big mice, let's say like foot long mice. They kind of come they haul out of the grass, and they're moving like right towards the cart. So you stand up from your working position, and you're looking. The cart is between you and Annika, and on the far side of the cart, you see these, just like a line of these oversized rodents come out of the grass in kind of a wave. What do you do?
So they're like, there's like a whole herd of them kind of coming out of the grass.
Yeah.
and they're running towards Annika.
No, Annika's behind them now and running back towards the camp. They apparently passed her.
Oh, they ran past her.
They ran past her, and they're coming right at you guys now.
I mean, do they look dangerous at all, or is it like a herd of bunnies?
I would say it's kind of like a herd of bunnies. They don't seem dangerous.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything to Annika.
They just ran past Annika.
Yeah.
And she's chasing them, sort of.
She sort of clearly doesn't know. She's like just running back to the camp, going like, "Hey!" Like just shouting, like to sort of warn you, but they didn't hurt her.
I think that Paviki would just go up to Itzy and kind of hold on to her reins and kind of like pat her on the head and kind of like keep watch what these things are up to.
Okay, so Paviki goes over and does that and takes Itzy by the harness and he keeps Itzy calm. Itzy does kind of like in her very slow way kind of like turn and look while she's chewing on some grass, and the critters kind of reach the cart and then stream up the wheels. And kind of there's a moment where there's a pause where the ones at the vanguard at the front sort of perch on the edge, the kind of the wall of the cart, perch there and kind of like sniff and look around, and then dives into the cart, and then all the rest of them kind of pour up and over and into the cart, and now they're all over everything inside the cart.
Whoa!
Like getting into bags, digging around and stuff.
Jeez. Okay. Time for some magic.
Ooh.
I think that kind of while still holding the reins with one hand, she's going to take that that stick, the shaft that she was working on, and call in the magic of sort of like disbursement of force. And she wants her blow to spread out amongst throughout the cart, and she's going to try to contain it so it doesn't whap onto Itzy. She's just going to hit that cart with the stick, and strong enough to either shock or stun or frighten those creatures.
Awesome.
And see if she can get it to just hit all of them at once.
Okay, awesome.
Vibrations just go out throughout the cart.
Great.
And she's going to shout at the same time, kind of like adding like a vocal element, like a
yeah. And this sounds like a very instinctive, like Paviki drawing upon the weave of the world in a very sort of sudden and instinctive way, right?
Yeah, I think so. Just trying to put a little pepper in the on the whack. Okay.
So I think this counts as a single target, the target kind of being the card itself as the container, right? Because these are little small critters. This is great too because it's making me, just like that last time, it's making me evaluate the whole number of targets versus area of effect thing.
Yeah.
And figure out how to do that. So you're striking the cart with your staff. Ooh, a wizard staff, all of a sudden your spear is becoming.
Right.
It's more than a parlor trick because you're trying to get them to, you're trying to affect them and get them to go, right? Like it's a physical vibration.
Right.
It's not like lights and smoke. It's a real, so I'm going to say 1, 2, 3 power. Do you have enough to cover that?
Yeah. What's the 3 for this?
Oh, no, wait. Instant, single target the cart, and you're, well, I don't know, touch. Yeah, okay, extending through the staff. Okay, so let's call it 2.
Okay. I'll roll it. I rolled a 7, and I've got 2, so that's 9.
So at that point, it'll work as intended, but the casting draws unwanted attention.
I'll burn a luck.
Okay, great. So you shout out, strike the cart with the spear shaft, and there's just like like a burst of force, and would you be pushing them sort of out and away, or just kind of like shocking them with like a sudden seismic vibration?
I was kind of imagining them just like popping off of the cart.
Okay. Yeah. So that's totally what,
shocked and hit back, and any of them touching the wheels would also just like.
Yeah. So you strike the cart and there's a, and it is like there's like a, not quite a thunder crack, but an actual audible sound that is more than just the wood striking the cart, and they are they're just repelled suddenly, and they fly off in all directions, and Annika sort of stops in her tracks, and Topias is looking over, and they land. Some of them land upside down, stunned, and like turn in circles for a second. Some of them don't move, and they're moving very slowly, and then you hear like a and they all run off away.
Nice. They're like marauding prairie dogs. They're like, signal, go.
So they've been shocked into escape, into evasion. So they disappear from sight, and Annika just kind of like shakes her head and says like, that would do wonders for the rats back in the common house. There's work for you waiting in Rayuna.
I've got a new job waiting for me. Rat queller.
And then shortly thereafter, Muirin and Taimi return, laden with stinky meat and 4 giant pinchers.
And I toss one to Paiviki, and I hand one to Topias. That thing had a lot of meat on it. I know it doesn't smell that great, but give me like an hour or so, and I can cook it down so at least it isn't making us stick out to every smelling and anything with a nose within 50 miles.
So do you want to do that before you hit the road? Like,
yeah,
cook it down so it stinks less?
Yes.
That's a good plan. Great. Okay.
I hold up the claw. Victory.
and of course, Muirin, the other one's for you.
Oh, we all deserve it.
We all deserve a claw.
Annika's kind of like, huh. I shot that thing.
I give her a hard look.
Oh, okay.
And then I like kind of like let my eyes start to drift near Topias in his direction, and I look back. Like,
I guess there'll be more, right, Taimi?
Yeah.
Be more.
Now that we know how to kill it and what we can get from it, and I gave it a name too. I mean, none of us have ever seen it. I doubt anybody in Rayuna has ever seen it. Kova Kaivuri, Kova, second word, Kaivuri.
Kova
Hard,
Kaivuri. Yeah.
Hard digger.
Hard digger. Nice.
It digs and it is hard.
Taimi the linguist. Awesome. Great. So it has a name. Pavika can finish getting that spear ready while Taimi cooks the meat down. I think basically you just have to cook, like you can just kind of roast it over the fire, and then when it's done roasting, most of the stink will go away, be gone. So then I think after all that little expedition to the pit and back, it's going to be around midday by the time you guys are ready to go.
Now we had talked team. Yeah, annotate. You guys are in trouble now.
Hey, now where do you access that? Just at the top of the screen?
At the top of the screen, there's like the green bar that says you are viewing Jason Lute's screen.
Yeah.
And then there's a red button that indicates that I'm being recorded.
Okay.
And then next to that is view options. And on that view options, there's like, 50%, 100%, and annotate is on there.
Oh, okay. That's a funny place for it. Great.
And then it brings up the annotating window, and I could do that.
Awesome.
Anyway, so this is like what I was thinking, that we would, because we can't take the cart up the cliffs. So either going to the east or to the west and somehow kind of getting back up to the level of the highlands, I think would be the way to go, so that we could, camp out at the Cave of the Beast, make sure there's no magical hoo-ha going on there, and then go on to Rayuna. And I guess the only reason why I think that we should go west is because we're getting closer to Motherwood territory, which I think would make us all feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
So make a kind of a long curve around to the west.
And I don't know, right? We might find that it's like, whoop, like these cliffs might go for a long way until we could find a way up. So,
yep.
but this general kind of path. And then once we know that we're kind of on the same level as the Highlands and the Motherwood and Rayuna, we can kind of reevaluate at that point whether we want to go through the Motherwood to Rayuna or go to the Cave of the Beast first.
Yeah.
That
sounds good.
Good plan to everybody? Okay.
Definitely.
So you're going to set off in that direction. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a second because I got to... You're going to make a... let's have him wearing... roll to set out, and you guys are... What'd you get?
I just dropped my dice.
Oh,
I'm good.
Phew.
Plus nothing?
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
I believe around the River King's home, it's dangerous. It's just dangerous, actually. Yeah. So that's plus 1.
Okay. 8 plus 1, 9.
Okay. So when you set out, there's an incident at some point along the way. So this leg is the remainder of this day. So it's a good, probably, this time of year, it's a good probably 8 hours of travel that you're going to get in. But you got this cart that is slowing you down. It's wooded and possibly hilly. So even on a really good roll, you're not going to get super far relative to what you would get if you were just on foot. Now, bear with me while I find my proper map. There's that. Okay, full map. There. All right. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for this part, and I only have that fog of war map up there, so I didn't have anything that I could see. Like, wait, what's under that fog of war? So that's what I'm trying to deal with right now. So let's see.
I wonder where that term first comes from. Warcraft?
No, I think it goes back to actual real world warfare and not knowing what's out there beyond, limited intelligence of what's happening out on the battlefield. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it goes back, at least to the 19th century, if not earlier.
Wow. I'll look it up.
Yeah, it's a good one. Okay, what am I doing here? Core book.
Yeah, you're totally right.
What's the
first known use of the exact phrase "fog of war" in text dates to 1896.
Oh, dude. 1896. That's pretty late in the 19th century, though.
Yeah.
I would have guessed. I was thinking like Napoleonic times, but at least I got ballpark there. Okay, so an incident happens along the way. Donna, would you please roll? Where is my? There we go. Roll a d12, please.
Sure. 1.
Okay. And then another d12.
12.
Oh boy. Okay.
There's only one, but it's huge.
Oh, sorry. That should have been a D10 roll, not a D12 roll. Roll again, please.
Okay. A D10. Oh, I know what a D10 is. Just one. 9.
Okay. And then a D6.
4.
A 4?
Yep.
Okay, so the going is hard. You have to lever the cart's wheels up over thick roots and push through underbrush. I think Annika and Taimi are ahead with Taimi has like a short sword, right?
Yeah, I think I still do.
So you guys are like hacking brush where necessary. Luckily, Itzy is just, a really powerful animal. So there's like some slopes where just through like sheer steady force of might, Itzy's able to like haul the cart up. And you guys, after probably, 4 hours of travel, things get a little bit easier. You come out of the woods and you're on a rise. I think Mirren is probably scouting ahead a little bit to like figure out, if you go to the left of this ravine, there's a easier slope or whatever. So Mirren's probably sort of scouting to figure out the best path forward. And so you've come out of the trees, and you're the landscape overall is rising away to the north, and it seems like, yeah, there's the possibility. So the cliffs, the more kind of cliff-like terrain has stopped, and looking back, you can see the mist in the distance of the River King's domain. Well, looking ahead and to the north, you do have hope that you can maybe get the cart up. It's going to be take some work, but anyway, you're up there. Taimi and Annika are on foot kind of ahead of the cart, and Paiviki is probably goading Itzy along, and Topias is kind of bringing up the rear. And Taimi, because you're constantly sort of scanning the landscape and looking for trouble, you're kind of on, strange territory, slow going, you're on alert. It's an overcast day, and you're not quite above the level of the treetops. I would say that you're about, in terms of your altitude, at this point, you're just about even with the treetops, right? So now when you look out back where you've been, you're looking out across this kind of mixed fir and deciduous forest that kind of goes off into the misty distance. And you see 5 winged shapes above the treetops. At this distance, they look no bigger than your thumb. Each one looks no bigger than your thumb. So there's some distance away. And your first impression, so at this point, they're just vague shapes, but they seem vaguely humanoid and winged.
Wait. When you say no bigger than our thumb,
Humanoid.
do you mean like they are so far away that we can put our thumb up and cover them?
Yeah, like scale. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're a really good judge of distance because of your background. So you're thinking maybe human size, and at this distance, they're no bigger than your thumb. Yeah.
And we can't hear. They're not making any sort of calls, or they're not communicating with one another. Or...
No, it's actually it's so this is just the moment that you notice them, and it was just purely visual that you even noticed them at all. You happen to be looking.
Oh, well then I definitely, like, I hold up my arms.
Yeah, you don't hear anything.
And then I bring the team closer. Look over there.
Yeah, so you see these. You don't hear that. You don't hear it because they're so far away. But you see these flapping things, and they seem to be. It's one of those things where when you see somebody in a distance, you can't tell they're walking away from you or towards you, if they're so far away. And Timey, you can tell that they are coming in your direction. They don't seem like it's not like they're making a beeline for you.
Yeah,
they're just sort of generally coming in your direction.
The direction that they are flying is the direction that we are in.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. And you immediately know, because of again your experience in the woods, that if these things are predators, just from their movement you can tell that they either haven't seen you yet or they're not interested in you. One of those two.
Okay. I mean, I've seen enough large, predatory birds, hawks and stuff. Like, does it look like it's hunting? Like, is it scouting for prey?
Yeah, I'll give you that. It does, in fact. Yep. There's 5 of them. And because of the way that, okay, so at one point, so you're paused up there, everybody's out there and looking, and it's quiet, and everybody's just kind of intently focused on that. One of them, it gets a little bit closer, and one of them turns its head to the side, and it has a very long head, like a beak.
Yeah.
And from the way that it kind of like turns its head and lifts its wings to kind of coast a little bit, right? And the way it's kind of looking down, it's exactly that. Looking for prey.
It looks like it's hunting. Muirin, have you ever seen anything like this?
My gosh. No, I'm stumped.
I mean, they look. I don't know if the word humanoid would jump to Tiny's mind. They look like they could stand on 2 legs like us. They look closer to us than they do a bird, and yet they seem like they have long, beak-shaped faces and wings. Maybe they're some sort of spirit, a combination of bird and man. Or maybe they're just a creature that takes form that's close to us.
And at that moment, you hear a...
Are we in that area that the rockworms live?
You're not up at that plateau yet. You're kind of ascending. You're in the middle of ascending up to that area. I mean, there may be rockworms down here for all you know, but
right.
You're not in the habitat that you're familiar with.
I was just remembering I read this book called Rockworms of the Highlands back in the day.
Yeah.
Wondering if it may have had any mention of these creatures.
That book would not have had mention of these creatures.
Is there any cover around? Any trees?
You guys just emerged from the trees. So you on foot could get back into the trees before they reach you, and maybe you could get Itzy to go back there with the cart. But that, so easily you guys could all hide in the trees at this point. But you're far enough away where getting the cart back into the trees would be a bit of a logistical challenge.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think that we do you think that these things can communicate? I wouldn't want to, I'm not going to wantonly shoot at something so unknown, so close to the mother wood.
I'd say regardless, have your crossbows ready, and Paviki starts turning the cart to bring it back into the woods.
Okay. Topias loads up his crossbow. You have, so Annika, Topias, and Taimi all have crossbows, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so Annika and Topias got their crossbows at the ready.
Oh, can I just sense the danger level? Because they still haven't seen us, they're just coming towards us.
Yeah, they're, Taimi knows that time is of the essence and that they will see you very soon because you're somewhat exposed on this hill that you're on. The nearest cover, there is like, so the cover options are retreat into the woods, and that's the only thing you can do with the cart for sure. But there are also like, kind of little depressions and stuff on the hillside that you could also potentially take cover. In terms of sensing danger, that I would say only works when things are relatively close to you. You're not getting a good feeling about them.
Right. And I know where they're coming from. So like that's clear without me having to, yeah.
You mean from where are they coming from?
Oh, just I mean that they're coming towards us.
Yes,
like
right.
I don't have a question of where the danger
Got it. Yes, that's true.
is coming from.
Paviki calls to Mirren, there's another crossbow in the cart, but if you want it.
Yeah,
But she's
for
not
sure.
she's not carrying it.
Okay.
There's
So
only-
does Mirren grab that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm just trying to turn that cart around.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so let's see what's happening here. So Paviki is attempting to get the cart turned around and back into the woods. What about the rest of you guys? Crossbows are obviously at the ready.
We're back at the tree line.
The cart's being turned around. So
Okay.
and if your move is to get your crossbow ready and retreat to the tree line right now, that's great. That's all I want to know is what you're...
I'm going to get my crossbow ready, and then I'm going to take 1 ration's worth of the fish or the lobsters type stuff and leave it where we were.
So like this much of it?
Yeah.
Okay. So you hack off a hunk with your knife and toss it there. And you're headed back to the woods. Muirin, what about you?
I have the crossbow ready, and I'll try to help Paviki if she needs help maneuvering.
Yeah, I think Paviki, I think
She could.
Annika and Topias are helping also. So,
Okay.
you got to pick up try to heave the cart over a rock, and everybody's kind of chipping in to try to get that thing turned around and moved back. Okay, this is Paviki's role because Paviki's leading this. And what do you think? What do you think? You're making a saving throw to get Itzy back to the woods. So what do you think?
I don't know. It's probably either intelligence or strength at this point.
It could be charisma if you really
Could be charisma to try. I mean, each one of those stats are equal right now.
Really? Okay.
I've got a +2 in each of them.
Yeah,
So-
well then you can just sort of describe it in any way that works with whichever of those stats, and you get a +1 with it, and then you got 3 people who are chipping in, so you're gonna have a +4 to this roll actually.
Okay. Yeah, I think that everyone's working, and probably Itzy is kind of like, I thought we were going forward.
Yeah.
And I'm
a
trying to
little
convince her that she's like so, setting her, path that she's like, what? We just went that way, and I'm trying to lure her around. And what is that critter like to eat?
She's a herbivore.
Yeah. So I just like quickly snatch up a handful of the stuff that I've seen her grazing on as she stops, and try to like, come on over here, over here.
Okay, great, awesome. Yeah, so you're trying to lead her back there. Great. So we don't even have to. Well, I guess we should call us that because you might mark it if you roll poorly. So yeah. So which is that charisma?
Yeah, I'll do charisma.
Okay.
And yeah, I might fail, right? So it's a 6 plus 4.
10. Great. Okay, so yep. She's like, and then you yank off a chunk of the long grass that you've that's growing on this hillside, and like hold it under her nose and come on, girl. And Muirin and Tapias and Anika are like maneuvering the cart with that, and the making sure the reins don't get cut up and doing all that. And you manage to get her turned around. There's a pause. There's like a tense pause where she kind of hesitates longer, and then she gives in and starts to move back down the hill. And you get her under the cover of the trees before the things notice you. And you've left behind a chunk of that critter, a chunk of the kava kaivuri. And the goal, if I understand right, is for it to be a distraction, John, or to just just like a sort of experiment?
Column A and column B. Like, obviously, it'd be great if these things don't just like beeline, so that we have a couple of beats to think about what we want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you, if you had to choose, would you prefer them to, assuming that they're carnivores and interested, would you prefer them to descend and go for the bait or not?
Of course, yeah.
You would, okay. Roll luck.
Seven.
Okay. Okay, so everybody's back in the woods. The cart and Itzy are actually, they are big, so you're trying to get her back behind enough brush to kind of cover her. Everybody else, it's relatively easy for you to take cover, and everybody's watching from a distance. Tapias is like, he's got his crossbow ready, but he's sort of leaning up against a tree with it in order to, hold it. Anika's jaw is set. Everybody's quiet. And you hear this like grating, shrieking sound. From your perspective, they're actually out of sight once you've got under the cover tree, and then you hear it. And there's a whistling sound as one of them drops like a rock out of the sky and snags the piece of meat, picks it up, and takes off again. Okay. This is what it looks like.
Oh no, it's gonna be gross.
Whoa!
Oh, it is.
Damn.
So the surprising thing about it is that it has these like colorful feathers on its on its body. So it just swoops down, snags it in its claws, and then sort of takes off again. And then you hear more shrieking from them, and you can, at this point, they're close enough where you can hear their wing beats. And there's kind of calling back and forth between them. And then after just a few minutes, the sounds kind of diminish.
Are they about human sized?
Yeah, like 6 or 7 feet. What you're
Oh,
looking
wow.
at there is about 6 or 7 feet tall.
Do they look like they could carry somebody?
Yeah,
Question.
yeah, maybe like if there's a particularly hefty one could carry Paiviki, for instance. I think Mirren would have no problem riding one of these things.
Oh, I guess I meant being carried away unwillingly. You know.
Yes. I mean, it is a flying creature, and the weight of its prey is gonna be an impact. But it would be hard for one of these things, in your estimation, to pick up Paiviki because of Paiviki's size
Sure.
with its actual claws. Yeah.
Wow.
I forget who was the tender of the tree back in Reuna.
Teeny?
Tinny. Yeah.
I don't remember Teeny saying anything about a creature like that.
Yeah. No. And this is definitely not something that you've seen in the mother, whatever. I mean, you've never been this far south, but it's not something that you're familiar with.
You're gonna have to name it Tiny.
Yeah, she sets her mind to that. Well, those things are definitely hungry, and you definitely can swoop down like a bolt of lightning. I guess we should maybe try to be careful and stick to cover as much as we can, but I only have so much Kova Kavuri left in my bag.
Yeah, so after what you consider is like a safe amount of time, you figure that they've moved on, and a sort of tentative investigation outside from out of the tree cover, and the skies seem clear.
All right. Well, I guess let's keep moving. Hopefully, we can get to more cover before nightfall.
You were supposed to see that.
That's the problem. I've been having that problem with my game too.
Yeah, like
Things keep flashing on the screen.
don't look at that.
I guess it's interesting that we have never encountered these flying creatures, and we're maybe like less than a day or two hike, right?
Let's see. The total journey on foot without the cart from Reuna to this point, it took you guys 2.5 days. Yeah.
2.5.
Yeah.
They must have a very specific like feeding pattern or like flying pattern.
Right, yeah. They have not flown further north than I mean, some of you guys have probably investigated down the Little River a fair amount, but yeah, these things have not come. And in fact, yeah, I'm going to say that when you finally do kind of return to climbing up the hills and you look out across the forest, you do sort of see them in the far distance to the south again. Like you see their kind of very distant shapes. So I think in Tiny's estimation, this might be the kind of edge of their hunting ground.
Or maybe they're also rare. Do you think there's very few of them?
It's possible too.
Oh.
Okay. So at that point, and then you guys can finish the rest of the day's journey. So you were kind of going this way, and you got up into the. So I think at the end of the day, you basically get to the top of that.
Right.
It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of hard work. It's really slow going, which is kind of demoralizing a little bit. But everybody's still riding high on the success of the previous expedition. And I think by dusk, or actually the first stars are coming out by the time you reach the top of the ridge. And from there, you can look, everything is kind of faded to darkness, but you can, looking out ahead of you to the north, you realize that you're on a whole different level, a whole different plateau.
Do you think that we're on the same altitude as the highlands?
That's your guess too. Yeah, there's even like a change in the air that seems a little familiar to you.
All right, let's make camp.
Go for it.
Is that a roll?
Well, everybody gets to eat first of all.
I'll mark that off. Everyone.
Are we going to eat some hard digger kebabs or something?
Hard digger kebabs. Yeah.
Hot, hard digger kebabs it is.
Nom nom.
Sounds delicious.
All right. And we don't need to feed Itzy. Itzy eats grass and local vegetation.
It appears that, I mean, as long as you guys are not in a barren landscape, Itzy can basically fare for herself.
Okay.
I think Annika, has made a habit of like gathering up big piles of stuff to bring it to Itzy, because you don't want Itzy to wander too far. But yeah, she's able to make do.
Okay.
All right. If you want to fire, you can take +1 to pass the night, but you might draw attention. So you can do with or without a fire.
I think we need a fire to cook that stuff, right?
Oh yeah. Well, no, the stuff's already cooked. He already.
I cooked it before we left.
Yeah, she already cooked it up.
Right.
I would vote no, just because we're still within a reasonable distance from those things.
Okay.
Great. Does anybody want to keep company before hitting the sack?
No. I'm fine.
Okay. Everybody else cool?
I just want to ask Moirin about magic. It's not exactly keeping company, but I have this chunk of the magnetic stone, and I've been wondering if it was possible to use some of these things that seem to have inherent power in them as a kind of help with my magic. And so I was just going to ask Moirin if, from her experience with working with different materials with strange properties, if she would have any guesses as to how I could use it as a part of a spell.
Yeah, and Donna, you're totally free to, I think that's a great question, and it's pretty open, so you're totally free to try to establish something about that if you want.
Establish specifically about that stone, or establish about how to, okay.
Moirin's like my go-to apothecary.
Well, could we say that you can use it to lift objects into the air, because it has like like it has a special like connection to like wave like energies of the earth, and so if you learn how to like tap into that, you could sort of use it to like move things depending on your skill level.
So like that it might be directly useful for the Weave of Force spell, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already seen how when you tried to kind of manipulate the stone with the weave before, how you saw the kind of lines of energy that the stone had.
Right.
Yeah, so potentially, it could potentially, am I right in understanding that Mirren is saying it could potentially augment your ability to move physical things?
Yeah, sorry. So that's what Weave of Force could move anything.
Well, it's kind of open to interpretation. So
Oh,
far,
okay.
Jan's used it in a number of different ways, like to scatter a bunch of rats out of a cart and to make a torch kind of burst into flame and to try to.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
think, did you shatter the stone with it?
No, that was the trying to transform the materials using that scroll,
Oh, right. Yeah.
and it was partially successful.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. How do you think that I should prepare it to make it usable? Grind it up, or what would you do?
How big is it? Is it like a shard?
What are you
Yeah,
picturing? Yeah,
I
Jan.
imagine it just like kind of like a chunk like that.
Okay.
Uh,
As far as how it might directly be applicable, just as a suggestion, so yeah, you could, and this is for Mirren to decide, but options would be like you could grind it into a powder that would, or you could just hold it and the energy and kind of use up the energy like it's a battery almost that would be drained out of it, right? Or
mhm.
any other way you can imagine it being used to kind of supplement or power a magic spell.
Yeah, I think holding it in a certain way, probably like you don't have to destroy it, or grind it up, but you do have to like feel it and yeah, charge yourself to it.
Okay, awesome. And in your looking at this thing and with your knowledge of its potential properties, how much energy do you think this this particular chunk might hold? Would you say it's like, and just in terms of like, is it when it's removed from the main mass, is it just like a little bit of energy? Is it still quite powerful? It's almost
So
like
I think
I
it's
would just like on a scale
yeah,
of 1 to 3, what would be the amount of energy this thing could contain?
1 to 3. I mean, I would say it has a lot of energy. So
Okay.
yeah, if 3 doesn't seem crazy.
That's the part that you'll have to establish, because I think everything so far,
Right.
everything else so far is totally in keeping with what we know about the stone. We saw its effect. We saw how the magic interacted with
Oh,
it.
right.
It all makes complete sense. I'm not gonna you're not gonna have to roll to establish whether it can be used for this, because I think it just all makes sense to me that's great. So now you're just gonna have to roll to see if it is like a really powerful
Super,
charge. Yeah.
yeah, supercharged.
Yeah. So that'll be an intelligence establish roll.
A good chunk.
Shall I establish that?
Yeah.
Okay,
2d6 plus your intelligence.
cool. So that would be 8 plus 0.
Okay. You're right, but there's a caveat or complication of the judge's choosing. So I'm going to say, Jan, that this acts as a spell component with 2 uses.
Okay.
And the caveat or complication will be that you've never used it before. So when you do actually choose to use it, and the spell doesn't, if the roll for casting a spell is not good, then what goes wrong will be related to the stone.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Miriam.
Use it for something.
Hopefully I'll learn from my last mistake with this thing. Paiviki goes to sleep, kind of holding onto the stone and sort of trying to see the lines of force in it.
Cool. Great. Awesome.
Maybe when she dreams about it, it'll help her.
All right, then, John, will you roll to pass the night? 2d6 plus 1.
Why? Oh, because of the safety.
Yeah.
That would be a 7.
Everyone gets restful sleep. Those who ate and drank the night before, choose 1 from the list. So in the morning when you wake up, you can heal 1 plus your con modifier of hit points and or ability points, or take +1 forward to your first roll of the day.
It said 1 plus your con modifier of
Yeah.
ability points?
Yes, minimum of 1.
Okay. I will choose that.
Okay.
Because I still have a ton of wisdom damage.
Ton of recovery has to happen. Yeah, how
I'll
much
do
damage
+1
total did you
forward.
take to wisdom? Like, what's your wisdom at, and what's its max?
My wisdom max is 7. It was at 3, and it's now at 5.
Oof, okay.
So we're going up.
The further you get away from those caves, the better you feel. So that morning you wake up feeling it's a whole new day. What about, did you guys heal up or take +1 forward?
I just recovered my last remaining wisdom and shook off the creepy cobwebs from that spell finally.
Okay. Oh yeah. Great. The last traces there. And then where are you taking +1 forward?
Mm-hmm.
Because you didn't suffer any damage at all when you were in those caves. All right.
Well, no, I'm not. I haven't maxed. I've lost some con, but I don't mind it.
So at this, so you're just gonna let it sit for now?
Yeah. It doesn't.
So from here, you're gonna try to find your way. Did I recall right that you're trying to find the Cave of the Beast? That's the next goal.
Yeah, well, I wanted to, because of the route that it took us, and it seems like we're already at the level.
Yeah.
I think that ground that we've covered is going to be safer than ground that we are unsure of. So if we loop back to the highlands and then head up to the Cave of the Beast, that's
Like come back over here and then up?
more or less, maybe a little bit more by how the crow flies than that. Yeah.
Okay.
But what do you two think?
Sounds great.
Yeah, to the cave.
Okay, so the Highlands are relatively known territory, and you've been here before. So I'm gonna in this set out, you're gonna be rolling for a 2-day chunk. So at the end of this roll, if you've navigated through the Highlands correctly, you'll be at the Cave of the Beast, and you'll consume rations for 2 days worth of journeying. So we're not gonna roll for every single day here, but it's gonna be a 2-day leg to get to the cave. And I think it's Paiviki's roll.
Okay. Plus 1.
The Highlands are dangerous. Yep, so +1.
I rolled a 6, so a 7.
And there's an incident once again. So roll a d12, please.
11.
Okay, oh, interesting. And a d6.
4.
Ooh. Okay. So actually, the whole day, there's like a montage of moving through the highlands. There's like small mirror-like lakes and these rough, rocky cliff faces that give way to kind of grassy, sloping hillsides. Little sort of shallow valleys that you manage to navigate Itzy through, and the day passes relatively uneventfully. people are in good spirits. There's occasional, it's actually still overcast just like yesterday. And you, Tiny, what kind of a spot would you choose to make camp here in the Highlands? Would it be like the top of a hill so you have good view of surrounding lands, or would it be a more protected kind of hidden area?
I mean, I think the ideal would be like, yeah, something that could, some sort of like hard, steep, like wall to put our backs against.
Okay.
Like a small cliff face, or even like a you know, a kind of deep and sudden ravine.
Okay, where you'd be sheltered from, not easily seen.
Yeah.
And have like a defensive, like something at your back. So you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you've sort of chosen this spot. It's actually up. It's like up a little rise, and then there's a relatively flat area, and then a sort of cliff face, just like you described. And there's sort of rock formations on one side that give you some shelter from the direction the wind's coming, and you're getting all set up. And you're, let's see, Annika's getting the fire going, or maybe there's no fire. You've got all the food's cooked, so you were going to try to plate safe, so no fire. And you notice, so it's totally overcast, it's dusk, and well, the sun, no, it's not quite dusk. The sun's still like, you know, a hand's breadth above the horizon, but everything's kind of gray. And then you see this shaft of sunlight coming through the clouds. You see like the patch of light on the rolling landscape off to the west of your campsite.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's like everything's in shadow basically because of the cloud cover, but then there's like this shaft of light and this lit up area on the landscape where it's just kind of bright. It's hitting like a area of grass, so it's like bright green, and it sort of drifts along. It's, you know, it's this beautiful, you know, break in the cloud cover, and it drifts towards the campsite. You know, and Annika kind of stops what she's doing to look too. Everybody's feeling good, and this patch of light kind of slides along down into this valley right next to you, and then it slides up the hillside and then passes over your campsite. So there's a moment where sunlight is sort of streaming down through the clouds and washes across the campsite, and it feels a little bit like a blessing or something from above. But as it passes over you, you smell the ocean. You smell everybody, all you guys, as this light passes over you, you smell, I guess for you, what you do is you smell salt wall, because that's your association with the ocean.
Yeah.
You smell the smells that you smelled back then. And I think for Timey, maybe that reminds you of you're trying to learn how to sail or whatever you want to remember there.
Yeah.
And you even hear the call of gulls. So there's just this brief, it's probably like 30 seconds as this patch of sunlight moves across where you guys are. And you're suddenly taken right back to the ocean side. You smell the salt. You hear of seabirds, and then it's gone. And after it passes over you guys, the shaft of sunlight kind of dissipates, and the patch of light gives way back to the shadow.
I think that I like took a deep breath and breathed it in, but then like I really thought about it, like, wait a minute, but I'm nowhere near the ocean. I'm nowhere near those birds. And I actually bolt up with my crossbow drawn and get to the top of that little cliff that we're next to, thinking that someone might be trying to enchant us.
Oh, great. Yeah, okay, awesome. So you quickly take up position on top and scan the landscape, looking for anything untoward. And does anybody else have any reactions to that?
Paiviki looks around at everybody, looks around to see if there's anything changed or different. And she says out loud, I wonder if this could be a message from Locke, and if it is, what it means.
Taimi jumps down. A message?
I told her if she needed help to send us a message. But she said it was probably too far to send a message by magic. And yet, how could it be that we smell the ocean and hear the birds?
It could be some creature trying to ensorcel us, try to make us complacent with fond memories of a place where we last found comfort. And I shiver thinking about that creature in my head from the cave.
Oh, right. The last kind of source of bad magic that you encountered. Yeah.
All magic is not bad magic, Taimi.
Can I sense if there's danger near us?
Oh, yeah.
Right. In case we are.
So when it passed over you, Miriam, yeah, of course, you're like, whoa, hold on. But actually, even as it was approaching the camp, Miriam, you felt very relaxed. And when it happened, when it passed over you, you had the same sensory experience. And whatever the kind of nicest feeling, maybe it was hanging out with, what's the name of the elf that you were friends with back in? Is it Quan? Is that
Quan?
Maybe it was when you were hanging out with Quan, or the girl. Remember the girl who you became friends with?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever your sort of most positive association of Saltwall was, that's the kind of feeling that it gives you. And it lingers for a moment before the sun dissipates. And during that whole thing, your danger sense is not doing anything at all. It's completely chill.
I'll definitely tell Taimi that it doesn't seem immediately dangerous.
Yeah, but that's their trick, right? Make us comfortable, make us think that we're, sitting by our mother's foot while fresh bread is being baked. And then that's when they get you, and she jumps back up and scans it.
She doesn't trust good feelings.
I think she doesn't trust things right now that don't come from what she can see and touch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes total sense. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Tangible things you can skin. Yeah, skin and eat it. Yeah, so Taimi's what's the word I'm looking for? Defensive concerns don't pan out, and nothing bad seems to happen. And we're covering 2 days worth, so that's going to be a total of 10 rations that you're going to mark off, right?
All right. It's an all-you-can-eat seafood feast.
And we'll make one pass the night roll for both these nights. So let's give that to Paiviki. Why don't you make that roll? So 2d6 plus 1.
7, 8.
Everyone gets restful sleep. So this applies to both nights. So you can heal up. So Taimi can heal up 2 more points, I guess, right?
I'm going to heal 1.
Okay.
1 point of hit points and 1 point of wisdom.
Okay. And anybody, on the morning of that, so now we're sort of, like my little pencil. All right, so one day to the top of the ridge, and then the second day was here. That's where you saw the moving sunlight, and then your second night is spent basically here. So on the morning of the 1, 2, 3, on the morning of the fourth day of your journey, really mark that on the calendar. Anybody who had the option there could take a +1 forward to that day if you didn't heal that night instead.
Can I pass the night or make company, whatever, with Topias just to check in and see how he's doing?
Yes.
I think Paiviki is just concerned for his health, but then also just for his state of mind, because it's he went through a lot.
You can tell he's feeling a little down. Like he was riding high like everybody else. There was a little bit of adrenaline around the appearance of those winged creatures, and then after you guys got back to the Highlands, people were in good spirits, and Topias was right there along with you. But you noticed that this evening, the last evening, he was, you caught him sort of, with looking not so happy. And so in the morning or maybe it's that evening when you approach him. Yeah, is it the evening before or the morning?
Probably the evening before.
Okay. Yeah, so he confesses to you that he thinks that this injury that he suffered is basically, plus the leg not working 100%, means that once he gets back to Rayuna, he's going to be stuck in Rayuna. And he says, "You're not going to let me come with you the next time you guys leave the village, are you?"
Bad wounds take some time to heal, but it's important to be to have time to recover as well. We don't want to keep on going and going until we grind ourselves into the ground. I think we all need a good rest. There's no shame in that.
All right, why don't you roll? How many bonds do you have with him?
I've got one marked bond and one unmarked bond.
Okay, so the total number of bonds is 2.
Yeah.
So you get to roll 2d6 and add 2.
Okay. I got an 8 + 2.
All right. Great. So he kind of like nods his head. He clearly feels, his shoulders kind of relax. He feels comforted by your words, and he says, "I always imagined that you would be a great leader, Paiviki. And after these weeks that we've spent together, I know that it's true."
Thank you. I'm working on it.
And you can choose, you can refresh all the bonds you guys have with each other. You can gain a bond with him or give him a bond with you. So you get to choose 2 of those things.
I've got 2 with him, and I'll give him one. I'll give him a bond with me.
Okay. And then you want to clear the mark?
Yeah, I did that. Okay. Got it.
Super. Great. Okay. Next morning, everybody's ready to head off again. And I'm assuming that Muirin or Taimi is generally the scout. Do you guys switch it up, or is it always Muirin?
Switch it up.
Yeah, probably switch it up.
So on this day, as you imagine, if you're if you're navigating the landscape correctly, this is the day you'll imagine you're going to reach the cave. Who's kind of head scout?
Taimi would volunteer, even if it's out of turn, because of how shook she was from last night.
Oh yeah, okay. There's got to be a wizard out there.
Yeah.
Evil wizard in the hills. Okay, great. Cart's all loaded up. Everybody starts off on their way again. Paiviki gives the cart a once over in terms of like, yeah, the axles seem fine. The wheels have like hammered copper around them. Some of the nails there need to be kind of fixed up, but the cart seems to be functioning fine. A couple hours after you guys break camp, Taimi, you top a rise, and looking out across a kind of wide valley that looks familiar to you. At this point, you feel like, yes, there is that. I remember that rock formation. This is definitely familiar territory. Coming back out from this direction, it's a little disorienting, but you know roughly where you are. And in the direction that you are pretty sure the cave of the beast is, you see a plume of smoke.
Ooh.
Just kind of drifting up over the, there's some like low hills in that direction, and from the other side of them, there's like the kind of smoke that you would imagine you would see from a campfire.
I jump back to the group and I explain what I saw. Either someone else has taken residence or Onikus is really dancing on a razor's edge. If it's the former, I think it's important that we either rout them out or make certain that there's nothing that they can do in that cave that would follow in the footsteps of the magician.
Great. So how would you guys like to approach the spot?
Perhaps we can leave the cart here and venture forwards on foot.
Like the whole team, all 5 of you?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to leave. Oh, we have so much good stuff. I would say we take the cart a little bit closer. Because we do got a lot of good shit in this cart.
Sure.
Okay, so you want to get the cart, it's close enough safely where in case there's anybody in there, you don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of safety, that's going to be your estimate from the distance from the campfire smoke. You're going to have to park like a mile away, basically.
Okay.
So you find a spot.
Maybe instead of the whole group going, Moirin, you can go take a look and find out who it is, so we know what we're getting ourselves into.
Sure, and go very quietly and quickly.
Okay, so a stealthy approach, hoping not to be noticed. That's the plan, scouting mission?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting. Find answers or make a saving throw of dexterity? I guess you're trying to find answers, right?
Usually, yeah.
But if you're trying to do it, I guess the key is you're trying to do it without being seen, so that makes it more of a saving throw.
Okay, yeah.
And
I get +1 to this roll.
Because of you +1 forward.
Yes, +1 forward.
So you get that plus whatever your dex modifier is.
Nice. Okay, so I'll do. So saving throw makes sense. Okay. Okay. 5 plus 2.
A total?
+1. 8.
Your total is 8?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you make your way close. There's an area of kind of scrubby pretty big area of scrubby brush that, if you kind of like creep through it, you'll be able to look around this rock face. And in this area, you're like, oh yeah, this is the Cave of the Beast. I remember this. In fact, you're coming at it from the direction or the first place where you found Onykus with the stolen goats, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
That first encounter with Onykus, you come across that way. And you peer around these rocks, and you see the mouth of the Cave of the Beast, and in front of it, roll 1d6 for me, please. 6. In front of the cave, you see that somebody has made they've piled a bunch of stones in a circle to make a fire place, so it's not a temporary campsite. It's definitely like a substantial fire. It's not a raging fire right now, but it's a good blaze, and there's a cook pot hanging over the fire, and there are 7 people, men and women, dressed, I'm going to say, not dressed well, like rough clothing, like generally a little grubbier and dirtier than the folks from like your home village, but they do appear to be the same. Is it the Metza people that you guys are? Yeah, it's the same people as Taimi and Topias and Anika. So you can tell it's the same. They're from the same stock. And you're not close enough to hear anything, but it's clearly like an established camp site. And there are there's a couple of goats grazing on the hill. These people, and there's enough kind of stuff around that you can tell that they've been here for a little while. And I would describe them as kind of a rough crowd is how I would describe them.
And they don't see me though, right?
That's right. They don't see you.
Okay. Success. Oh, and then I guess I'll just quickly sense, are they dangerous?
I think your danger sense is like, is there imminent danger? Right?
Yeah.
It's not like you can't read their intention necessarily, but you can tell, like if you were facing somebody and that person was thinking they wanted to murder you, you could probably sense that. But at this distance, there's no imminent danger.
Okay, cool. I'll return to that group and let them know what we found out.
So you turn and you come out of the bushes and you sort of, you're out of sight of them now, and you stand up. And when you stand up, about 20 feet away from you is a guy with a wooden pole on his shoulder, and hanging off the pole are like, 2 or 3 little varmints that he's caught. He's got like a rough beard, and he's like just suddenly surprised by your appearance. So you're facing now 20 feet away from you, where you didn't think there was anybody. You've actually surprised somebody who appears to be returning to the camp.
Mm-hmm.
And in this moment, he's just sort of surprised. So this is the moment. What do you do?
And we just to clarify, everyone's a mile away. I mean, our group is a mile away.
Yeah, I don't know it's possible that Taimi would have like accompanied you to a safe distance. I think that's a possibility, but that would have to be, you guys could establish that as a flashback. But yeah, at this, that would be up to John if you wanted to do that. But right now, your friends don't appear to be around. Yeah.
I guess I'll be casual. To say sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to surprise you.
Oh.
Don't let me interrupt.
Who are you?
Oh, I'll just say I'm a wanderer. Um, I, s- I travel place to place, originally from, a different area.
And so now you're gonna check reaction on this guy to see how he responds.
Okay.
So that is 2d6 straight up, no modifier.
Okay. Because it's his reaction that's happening.
Yeah, this is a case where, so you do this. This move happens when you encounter a person or creature that has no particular predisposition towards you to figure out what kind of response they're going to have to this. You've basically, like, it's not like you're trying to spin a yarn. You just said, hey, I'm just wandering around. It seems like a perfectly normal thing. So we're just seeing to see how he's going to react to that.
And then it's like based on his personality at all, or does he not have one yet?
He doesn't have one yet.
Oh, okay.
Good question. Yeah, he doesn't have any specific traits yet. So this is like a general reaction roll.
Okay. So yeah. I rolled a 4.
Okay.
And that's his reaction, so it's not like I would get any kind of marks for that.
That's right.
4.
On a 6 or less, they react with as much hostility as their alignment permits. So he, so you do that, and he says, "Well, he pulls a knife out, and he says, 'Turn around. I'm taking you back to camp.'"
Huh.
He's still holding his catch there on his shoulder.
Right. I definitely would like to trick him. I guess all of my poisons don't work. Can I just grab the dust though and just blow it in his face and then like see what happens? I mean, nothing's gonna happen, but it'll just at least scare him or surprise him, right?
Forgetfulness dust, right?
Yeah, it's definitely been a week, so it's like that. It's like not effective, but I can at least like still and then try to,
Like, kind of blind him and then make a run for it?
yeah, or at least because 20 feet away, right?
You're 20 feet
Or is
away.
this?
Well, I guess that's the thing.
Yeah.
You're 20 feet away, so you're going to have to get close to him to blow it. So are you going to are you going to kind of like...
Yeah, so yeah, knowing that I could outrun him anyway, it's sort of, it would have been a matter of like 20 feet away, right? I would have like...
You get the feeling that you could totally lose this guy if you just made a run for it.
Yeah.
You are an elf after all.
Right. I will sort of like hands up, let him come towards me, and then as he comes closer, poof.
So you just do this, and so he comes closer, and then an elf, huh? I got an elf, and he gets close, and now he's about like 10 feet away from you, but he's clearly a little nervous too. He's not some hardened warrior, so that's about as close as he's going to get to you. And you could totally make that move from here. You could just go take a step towards him and go and blow it in his face.
The Lord of the Rings role-playing game has the dust in the eyes trick at a range of 5 meters.
Oh, 5 meters! I guess you can throw a handful of dirt. I can see that. But 5 meters, geez, wow, that's a 15.
I don't remember that part. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, I don't remember Bilbo blowing
didn't
dust 15 feet away from Gollum.
My eyes! Okay, you gonna go for it?
Yeah, and then sort of listening to him, I do want to not just run away, I do want to like apprehend him so he doesn't tattle to his group. Or at least just tie him up so he doesn't like rat us out before we decide what to do.
Okay, so so you're trying to sort of surprise him by blowing this powder in his face. And so the goal there, while he's kind of confused by that, he is within shouting distance of the camp, so making noise would be an issue if he does choose to yell. So at the end of this maneuver, what position would you like him to be in? How would you like to manage this mischief?
Right. Shoot. I guess I worry about my strengths, but ideally I would like to have him, or like have him like
Yep.
back to me, I guess, and then
With your hand over his mouth.
yeah, right.
And
And
then-
then threatening in a way that I do have a knife. I guess I could use the knife to sort of like make him back up.
Or you could try to grab his knife from him. If you want to do
Oh
the
yeah.
spin, you could try to like get his knife, spin him around, and stick it in his back, kind of thing.
Yeah, before he can yell to the group. And then, yeah, that's the move.
So blow powder to confuse him. Move forward quickly. Maybe even like move behind him. So, like, don't try to turn him around, but actually get behind him, grab him, pull his knife arm around, and stick his knife in his own back. Does that summarize?
Yeah, I guess I'm deciding if I stab him.
I mean, you don't have to, I just like put the point of his knife against his back to let him know,
Okay, yeah.
to let him know
Yeah.
you do business. That's what I meant.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, golly. Make a saving throw.
Okay.
Do that.
And it would be my dexterity.
I think that's,
I'm
yeah,
being-
yeah, speed is the kind of, you're doing it with speed, agility, or finesse for sure. This is a pretty complicated little maneuver there. And you're not using your strength. You're basically, if you can get that knife around behind him, then you're going to be using the kind of the threat of the knife as opposed to trying to physically restrain him. And that should, you know what I mean? So it's not going to be wrestling against him. Once he feels that knife point, hopefully it'll just calm him down. Yeah, so go for it.
Oh. Okay. 6 plus 2 is 8. 8.
Okay. He like takes a step back, raises his knife arm. You're behind him. You clap your hand over his mouth, grab the knife, and then he resists. You don't manage to get it behind his back. You don't manage to get it out of his hand, I guess is what's happening. So he's like, so now you are in a little bit of a wrestle with him, but you do have your hand over his mouth, so he's not able to make noise. But there is a struggle. So what would be your next move?
Shucks. I would try to.
I think it's going to fall to a strength roll unless you have.
Yeah, because I don't have any kind of like convincing powers or.
I mean, you could make some threat.
Right, and if it was a threat, it would be a charisma roll, right?
Let's see, negotiate, charm, or deceive them. So if you used your charisma to try to create some, to deceive him somehow, like some threat that would scare him that was actually not true, then yes, you would use charisma. Otherwise, if you're just trying to intimidate him, it would be strength. Or you could use intelligence to appeal to his sense of reason.
Right. Is there a way that I could use my wisdom to like trick him into believing that powder is a slow acting poison that's going to slowly
That would totally be a. Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's not like a wisdom thing, though, right? Because I
Yeah,
could tell
no,
him that it.
it wouldn't be a wisdom thing. That would be charisma. Because you got to sell it. You got to make him believe it.
Right.
What's your charisma?
It's 10, so it would be the same kind of roll as a strength roll, but I would rather not muscle him down. Yeah, I'll try to convince him to not to struggle, or the poison will act.
Or is it like the more you struggle, the more that powder will do something to you? That kind of thing?
Yeah.
And what's the threat? Like, what's the thing that it would do to him?
The
Are you saying that it'll like cause him great pain or paralyze him, or what do you think would make him afraid?
maybe do you think blindness I could sell him losing his sight?
Sure.
Because
sure.
I guess if it hurts in any way.
Yeah, it's got in his eyes, so that would probably be convincing. Sure, yeah. Well,
Okay.
so you're negotiating from him, which is when you want something from someone they don't want to give up, and what he's giving up is his freedom, right? Like
Knife.
you're saying, like let go. The more you struggle, the blinder you'll get, or something like that.
Yeah, I won't be able to like help you wipe that, clean that out of your eyes or something. Yeah.
And then it'll be like permanent blindness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And
yeah,
I just remember to have luck. So if this doesn't work,
1 point of luck might help you. So 2d6 plus 0.
Plus 0.
No.
Okay. Okay. So I roll a 7 plus 0.
Okay. They'll do it, but
That's not. Yeah. Okay.
only if you concede something meaningful in return. Gosh, what could that even be in this instance?
I could say I'll let go of his.
You mean let go of him but have the knife?
Yeah, let go of his mouth.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Great. Yeah. So you're like, that's all part of what you say. And he like, there's a moment where he's like, and then he stops and he, you take your hand off his mouth and he sort of lets go of the knife. So now you have the knife. And, you're still behind him. And he's like, what do you want, elf?
I'll just, if I have water, I'll like help him spray it in his face and then just say, you're the one who attacked me.
Ooh, okay. So you pour out and you have like a water skin and
Yeah.
you just go ahead and squirt it. You say like, I'm gonna wash it.
Yeah, squirt it in his face and say like, there you go. And then I'll say, you attacked me.
Okay, so you're like backing off. You've got his knife, but you're not being threatening to him. Okay. He says like, well, what are you doing here? Wandering around?
Yes.
Wait.
That's my business.
Wait, are you that elf? Are you one of the heroes of Rayuna? Is that why you're at the cave?
What have you heard? Maybe I am, but
Only that you and if is that you? That you and your friends killed the beast and took all of its treasure?
oh. Did we kill the beast? I'll be quiet on this front.
Is that you? Have you returned?
Yeah, I'll say we're back, and don't get in our way.
Okay. I mean, you killed the beast. Well, I won't get in your way.
Tell me who you are.
I'm one of Varpu's men.
Where is Varpu from?
Varpu's from the capital. Varpu used to be a word keeper. But she's not anymore. She's our boss.
Oh.
Yeah.
And what do you want from the cave? What do you want at that cave?
It's well, I don't know. I don't know if I should be talking to you.
It's fair.
So you gonna let me go? John, will you quick roll percentile dice twice so I can figure this guy's traits out?
Is there a way I can know his intent? Like, can I trust him? Right? Is he actually like just a lackey?
That's great. You can totally find answers to try to suss that out.
Yeah.
And then,
Okay.
yeah, what'd you get?
A 62 and a 20. That is 60 with a 6.
And a 20. Okay. Yeah, you want to you're trying to like get a read on him?
Yeah, like is he actually afraid of me? And then how loyal, like does he just do whatever Varpu tells him to?
How loyal is he to Varpu?
Right, yeah.
And is he afraid of you?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you right now, he doesn't seem afraid of you.
Okay.
He seems impressed.
Okay.
But you wash the alleged poison out of his eyes, and from the way he talks about the heroes of our unit, it's not that he's afraid of the heroes of our unit because you haven't actively threatened him yet. But he's more like, whoa, have the heroes of our unit returned? Is kind of what you're getting off of him. So he's not afraid of you, but you can totally roll to see what you think his relationship to his boss might be. Which is fine answers, and I think you're kind of trying to suss him out, so you are trying to sense, right? That's wisdom.
Sure. With my wisdom, yes. Definitely with my wisdom.
Yes, wisdom. Give me a wisdom roll.
Yay, 10. So 8 plus 2.
Yeah, you get the impression that this guy is, I mean, who knows about like, whatever you might call loyalty, but he is very into the person who's in charge. Like whatever he's like, whatever this thing that he's doing right now in his life, he's like totally into it. You can tell that whatever this gang of people is, you can tell that he's just like one of them, and he's yeah. So I guess you could interpret that as him being loyal to Varpu. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask if he wants to meet the rest of the heroes.
Do you want to read the? Oh my god. I mean, Where are they?
Well, I'll just tell him we don't mean him any harm, or that, yeah. So I'll bring them to you, or let's go. We can talk to them. But yeah, if you want to meet some real heroes,
No, I'm not gonna leave. I'm not gonna leave the camp. No, I mean, you could come if they're here. You could. I mean,
they're near here. They're near
I
here.
gotta tell Varpu that you're here, and you can come and you know, maybe like have an audience with my boss, but I'm not gonna go anywhere with you. I mean, no offense.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm getting a good sense that, like, at the very least, we're not enemies. I just don't want to stray from that group too long. So, can we flashback that Taimi was near?
That's totally up to Taimi.
Taimi, what were you up to?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well, you know what? Let's just let fate decide. I think more likely than not, Taimi is close by. But if I get a 1 or a 2,
Okay.
That's a 4. So yeah, I'm close by. I maybe like went for my crossbow when I saw this guy come up on Muirin, but then when I saw Muirin do her famous dust in the eye trick. I actually probably took it at face value, and it was probably like, oh my gosh, that guy's done for. Like,
oh wait, the powder wore off. Yeah. So pause for a second. You have to establish that you were actually there.
okay.
So that was your random roll to see if Taimi would have been there, and now you got to roll to
Yes.
establish, which is unfortunately an intelligence roll.
No, bring it. I wanna up that stat. I'm so close to having a 0 modifier. Let's go. And that's a 4. Let's bump it up.
Yeah.
Mark intelligence.
Okay.
And the judge makes a move, which is going to be off camera. So I just started a little.
Exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. So Taimi did not tag along.
Sorry.
And John, did you still want to?
About
It's
it.
11:30 now. It's the half hour. John, did you want to?
Yeah, I would love to wrap it up.
Okay. So what's Muirin's closing on this interaction?
I'll talk to her. Farpu.
Just you. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Then that's gonna be our cliffhanger.
Oh.
Well, okay. The cliffhanger will be a little bit. So you say, "Bring me to Varpu."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he leads you back around the corner. He says, "Hey, everybody!" And the whole gang turns and looks up, and then there's like murmuring and like, "Who's this?" He's like, "It's one of the heroes of Rayuna. Get Varpu." And somebody runs into the cave, and a woman emerges. And Varpu comes out of the cave.
Ooh.
Nice.
She's like 6'2". She's like when she comes out of the cave, she like ducks, and then emerges, and she's got the chain shirt of a word keeper that you totally recognize, and she looks like a tough cookie. And she says, "Who's this?" And the guy says, "It's the elf. The elf, one of the heroes of Reuna. And then we'll cut there.
Oh my gosh, big moves.
You guys gotta save me from cool people.
I'm gonna go get myself captured.
Oh, right, like last time, you mean? pull that move. You'll get captured move. Okay.
That's our signature.
No, like
Yeah.
if she's a renegade, then that might mean this whole crew is like anti-Reuna word keeper. Like,
I hope so.
yeah, there might be
What
a
do you
whole
mean, like
organization. Got some-
anti-El Mary, you mean?
Yeah. Boots on the ground.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Or they could just be bandits.
I'm down with that too.
Yeah. Either way, they might help us.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's wrap up.
I think I'm gonna have to arm wrestle her.
That's right. When you reach the end of session, fulfill at least one trait in a memorable way. Timey.
I went back to get. I'm irritated and weary of magic.
Yes, for sure. You absolutely are. You got an XP for that. Paiviki.
I don't think so. Not this time.
No opportunity to be covetous, selfish, or bold. Nope.
Yeah, I changed it to boastful as your suggestion.
Right.
But I don't think she did any of that.
Okay, and we're in focused, respectful, and ruthless. Oh, interesting.
I was respectful.
I think you were respectful of this guy. You actually took your hand off of his mouth, you stepped back, and you talked to him. I think that totally counts. In a hostage situation, you decided not to go too far.
You're like, I'm losing, so I'm gonna let go.
Yeah. Dude, I respect you. I'm respected by one of the heroes. Fighters, XP if you solve problem with physical prowess. No real opportunity, right? Thief, solved a problem with stealth or trickery.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
tried to, yeah.
I mean, a more complicated issue has arisen, but you definitely resolved that issue with that guy through trickery. Well done. Magic user solved a problem with magic. Oh, that's the thing is when you're multi-class, you get to choose which of your two classes you get the XP trigger for. So you didn't do a fighter thing, but you did do a magic user thing. So you do get XP for that.
Right.
Nice.
Did you make an exciting discovery?
Bird people.
Weird bird people. Everybody gets an XP.
That was cool.
Overcome a difficult obstacle. I would say getting past the bird people, and also, I mean, getting caught by this guy and turning it around and being taken down. You know, that was good. So everybody gets 1 XP for that. Memorable booty.
The Red Lobster all you could eat seafood fest.
That totally counts.
That was pretty, yeah.
The stinking giant crawdad pile.
Oh wow, we're creeping up.
Be close to level 4.
Yeah.
Oh,
Got 4 left.
cool.
Yeah, I'm just 3 away.
Could happen next session.
Oh, Muirin, are you there?
What is the total for?
65 is level 5.
Okay, yeah.
You did it?
I'm at 65.
You did?
How is that possible? Where is everyone else at?
I'm at 62.
I'm at 61.
Oh.
I think you did, like last time you did some trickery stuff.
Is it because I'm always focused?
Maybe so. Wow, so you leveled to level 5.
Yeah.
Great. So
Yeah, cool.
what's your present luck?
Current luck is 10, and my max is 12.
Okay, well, it goes all the way back up to 12.
Oh, nice.
And your even is odd, so you get to mark 2 different abilities of your choice, excluding luck, and you increase your maximum hit points by 1 roll of your hit die plus your con modifier. You don't have to decide that right now, but why don't you roll your hit points just so it's a, we all know the score. So for a thief, it's a d6.
Sorry, so you roll a d6 plus your con modifier, and that's your new HP.
Yeah.
What if it's lower than 10?
You add it onto your current HP.
Oh, okay. Sorry. 5 plus 1. So now my HP is 16.
Dude,
Woo.
wow. You
Oh, wow.
lost in a fight. And just so you know, that's not like you're so physically sturdy that you can take that much punishment. That's like your vim, your vigor, your, it's like your ability to basically survive without getting totally exhausted. So that's great. You'll be good in a fight
Okay.
for a little while.
Cool.
If you ever take damage, I don't think you've ever taken damage, right?
I recall maybe I did once.
Long in the past.
In that pit where Tipius. Okay, so then the thing that I do, so there's no secondary trait to build, right? Or to pick. Advanced move, I'm sorry.
Yeah, on
There's
odd numbered levels, you don't get an advanced move. You mark
Okay.
two different abilities of your choice.
Okay. Very exciting.
And your cunning goes up by 1 because of your new level.
Because it's my intelligence plus my level.
Yeah, your cunning is equal
Okay.
to your current level plus your intelligence modifier.
A big announcement.
Yeah,
Big
announcement.
Big announcement. With the one mark that humans get at the end of every session, I have now bumped up my intelligence. Is now a 9. It is now a 0 modifier.
Whoa!
My wisdom
You learned
is still.
something.
I'm learning.
That's amazing.
I'm learning. My wisdom is
dexterity.
still in the dumps, but we'll work on that next.
All right. Awesome.
Huh. Now you're very balanced. Maybe overly positive now.
Yeah. Once I get rid of those negatives, I do have some very good stats.
Yeah, your charisma is kind of.
I never use my charisma. I've never ever used my charisma.
Everybody just must find Timey naturally charming. Like,
I don't know.
it's like a 16, right? And it's almost a 17. Like you're 1 tick away from 17, right?
Yeah.
What is it about that crazy hunter lady? So compelling. All right. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Are we on for next week? Yeah. It's the week after that we can't do.
That's my understanding right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so.
Great.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
See you next time.
Thanks.
Bye.
Tank
Hey,
Top
guys,
team
good
out.
night.
Good night.